The following are my Japanese Sega Saturn games, and I got all of these in a lot on eBay for the bargain price of £40. All Japan Pro Wrestling featuring Virtua. This is just your typical all Japanese pro wrestling game, however it features some characters from Virtua Fighter. It also came with a nice move list poster. Aquazone Desktop Life. Dead or Alive. This is the original Dead or Alive. And as you may notice, some games from Japan come with spine cards, and what these are, you put them around the spine. I shan't fold it because it hasn't been folded yet and that'll damage it, but you fold it around the spine and it has the barcode on it, but when you finish with the sale you can take it off and now there's no barcode. Dynamite Decker. Fighter's History Dynamite. This came in a big cardboard box because in it came the game with a special memory card, and there's a precautions leaflet for the memory card. The actual case is different to regular Japanese Sega Saturn games because while it's got a cover on the outside, it didn't ever come with a spine card, and it doesn't actually have a back, because obviously if you want to look at the back, you look at the back of the box. Fighters Mega Mix. If we look at the differences between the English and Japanese box art, then you can see that they stretched this picture out a bit, and then they put the Sega Saturn logo over his leg. And up here, if you look where the lightning finishes there, the lightning still finishes about there, but they just added some black to put the text on. And also, obviously, it doesn't have the Japanese writing. Fighting Vipers. Something to be noted about Japanese Sega Saturn games is that some of them have a grey spine and they just have a grey disc tray and it's white and blank on the inside, whereas others have a see-through spine with some text on it or a picture, and on the inside they have a pattern behind. Golden Axe The Duel. Unfortunately, this is actually a one-on-one 2D fighter. Last Bronx. Marvel Superheroes. Something to be noted about the Capcom games is that they always say what genre they're in on both the front and on both the sides. And this game is actually it's quite fun. I gave it a go, but I couldn't really get the controls down. The manual doesn't really have much of a move list other than the special moves, most of which I had real trouble putting off. Street Fighter Real Battle on Film. With this game, they obviously thought that using their movie would be a good opportunity to tread on the toes of Mortal Kombat, so they got all the actors to be models for a live-action one-on-one fighter. So it's just Street Fighter, but with real actors playing the part of the characters, a bit like in Mortal Kombat, as opposed to animated characters. Street Fighter Zero. Street Fighter Zero 2. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 X. Here is an example of Capcom labelling their genres for another genre other than fighting. They did puzzle as well. Toshinden S. It was games like Toshinden that paved the way for the Soul Calibur series, because as you can see all the characters have weapons, and it was a way at the time of changing up the 3D fighter that was done so many times. Toshinden Ultimate Revenge Attack. Vampire Hunter. Virtua Fighter. If we compare the box art of this version to the PAL version, you can actually see that they mirrored the box art for the PAL version and added the sky blue effect, as well as stretching it slightly and putting Virtua Fighter above. Virtua Fighter Remix. Virtua Fighter Remix for Sega Net. Virtua Fighter Remix was a remake of Virtua Fighter 1 with Virtua Fighter 2's graphics and physics, so that it they had characters that had more moves and it just was a better game. And also there was a feature that was coming in at this time called Sega Net, which was one of the first online gaming experiences. This allowed players to buy a Sega Net adapter, which they could plug into their console, and they could connect that to the phone line so that they could play other people from Japan on their games from within their home. The only problem was that the internet was so slow back in those days that it suffered with the lag really badly, and very few people actually bought it. Virtua Fighter 2. If we compare the cover art of Virtua Fighter 2 from Japan to England, we realise that the cover art is so much better in Japan. There's this picture of him elbowing some guy onto the floor, and it has some text up here. The second World Fighting Tournament has begun. With their polished skills and improved speed, the following 10 fighters will compete in an effort to determine the new world's #1 fighting champion. And that's pretty brilliant English for a Japanese fighting game. And on the back, it has a picture of all the characters with a small amount of text, possibly what it said on the front, and then just some screenshots, lots of screenshots. Whereas the English version has some weird guy doing a very strange pose, and then an old man in the background with all the characters lined up like they're in the army, and then on the back lots of text in 7 languages with 5 screenshots. Virtua Fighter Kids. Originally in Japan, Virtua Fighter Kids was released on the Saturn as a promotional item in cooperation with drink brands Java Tea and Energen under the title Virtua Fighter Kids Java Tea Original Edition. It was later released commercially without any mention of Java Tea on the cover. Virtua Fighter Kids is a super deformed version of Virtua Fighter 2. Reportedly, the game was developed to practice on the facial and eye animations on the characters for the impending Virtua Fighter 3. The differences made to the game is that all the characters have big heads, the music is faster paced, the gameplay itself is slightly tweaked, and the Saturn version includes some new FMVs and adds programmable button sequences to allow players to test and use pre-made combos. In some versions of Virtua Fighter Kids, players could eat the souls of other characters. Virtua Fighter Kids characters are not really children. Kids refers to the super deformed art style, and as such, some of the fighters retain adult characteristics such as facial hair, muscles, or breasts. Virtual On. Virtual On is a fully 3D mech fighter, which you can see from these screenshots here, if they focus. And if we compare it to the English box art, you can see that it is completely different, as this one shows off all the characters as opposed to just the main character. And on the back, these screenshots are more useful for determining what type of game it is. Virtual On for Sega Net.